Admiral Zexthara's mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among the Kethmori as she observed the human fleet through her flagship's quantum sensors. 37 vessels hung in the void like crude metal insects, their hulls scarred and patched, their weapons arrays laughably primitive compared to the sleek perfection of the Galactic Dominion's armada. "Look at them," she chittered to her tactical officer. "Chemical propulsion, kinetic weapons, and what appears to be... Are those actually projectile cannons? How charmingly archaic." The human fleet had arrived at the Nexus station 3 standard cycles ago, claiming to represent something called the United Earth Defense Force. Their ambassador, a soft-skinned biped named Chen, had politely requested membership in the Galactic Council. The assembled species had barely contained their mirth. Earth's technology was millennia behind the rest of civilized space, while the great powers wielded plasma that could slice through neutronium and shields that bent spacetime itself. Humanity still threw metal slugs and hoped for the best. Their fastest ships couldn't break light speed without primitive wormhole generators that took hours to charge. But now, as the Void Devourers emerged from the dark spaces between galaxies, the cosmic joke was about to become deadly serious. "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "the Devourers have breached the outer perimeter. The Zalani Third fleet is already gone, completely consumed. Their life energy has been absorbed." Zexthara felt her blood chill. The Void Devourers were a force of pure entropy, beings of living darkness that fed on the fundamental forces that powered galactic civilization. They consumed energy itself, growing stronger with each star system they devoured. Plasma weapons were worse than useless. They were food. Energy shields became dinner invitations. "Signal the retreat," she ordered. "All fleets are to fall back to..." "Admiral." The tactical display erupted in warnings. "The human fleet, they're advancing. They're flying toward the Devourers." Through the viewscreen, she watched in amazement as the primitive Earth vessels accelerated at impossible speeds. No energy trails, no exotic matter reactions, just raw chemical thrust that somehow propelled them faster than should have been possible. "Open a channel to the human flagship," Zexthara commanded. Admiral Chen's weathered face appeared on screen, his expression calm despite the cosmic horror bearing down on them. "Admiral Zexthara, I recommend your fleet maintain safe distance. We'll handle this." "Handle this? Admiral, those are Void Devourers. They consume energy itself. Your plasma weapons will only make them stronger." Chen smiled, a peculiar human expression that somehow conveyed both warmth and predatory anticipation. "Who said anything about plasma?" The first human ship engaged the leading devourer, a writhing mass of shadow larger than a moon. Instead of the expected energy weapons, it fired something extraordinary. A stream of metal projectiles moving at near light speed through sheer kinetic force. The slugs punched through the creature's energy-absorbing hide like tissue paper. The devourer reeled, then surged forward to engulf the human ship. But instead of the expected feast of exotic energy, it found something unprecedented. A vessel powered by controlled chemical explosions and defended by simple, stupid matter. The creature's energy-draining abilities were useless against pure, kinetic force and chemical reactions. More human ships joined the fray. They used tactics that seemed impossible, ramming attacks with reinforced hulls. Deployment of what appeared to be glorified firecrackers that nevertheless disrupted the Devourer's energy patterns, and weapons that threw chunks of dense metal with such violence that they shattered the cosmic horror's forms. "Impossible," breathed Zexthara. "How are they moving so fast? How are their chemical rockets outmaneuvering our quantum drives?" Chen's voice crackled over the comm. "You've been focusing on harnessing the universe's exotic forces for so long. You forgot about the simple ones. Newton's laws still work, Admiral. Mass times acceleration. Basic physics." The human engineer speaking over the channel added, "Also, we've been fighting gravity wells and atmospheric resistance our whole history. Space is easy when you're used to clawing your way out of a 1G well every time you want to reach orbit." One by one, the Void Devourers fell. They couldn't absorb kinetic energy, Mass in motion was too fundamental, too crude for their energy-draining abilities to counter. The humans fought like their ancestors who had once killed mammoths with pointed sticks, not through sophisticated technology, but through stubborn persistence and creative application of basic physics. As the last devourer dissolved into component, shadow, the human fleet regrouped. Their ships were battered, several were venting atmosphere, but they had won. The Galactic Armada sat in stunned silence. Admiral Chen, Zexathera finally managed, "Perhaps we should discuss that council membership again." Chen chuckled. "We'd be honored, Admiral. But first we should probably talk about upgrading your fleets. You're going to want some kinetic weapons for the next time these things show up. Our engineers would be happy to show you how to make proper railguns." As the human fleet began rescue operations for the scattered survivors of various species, Zexathera realized that sometimes the most primitive solution was the most elegant one. The galaxy had spent millennia perfecting ways to manipulate exotic energies and bend space-time, never realizing that sometimes the best weapon was simply a really big rock thrown really, really hard. Earth's primitive fleet had just reminded the galaxy that before there were plasma cannons and antimatter warheads, there were slings and stones, and in the right hands, those stones could bring down giants. The stars still shone, the galaxy was safe, and humanity had earned its place among the stars, not through sophisticated technology, but through the same stubborn ingenuity that had once convinced their ancestors that strapping explosives to metal tubes and sitting on top was a reasonable way to reach orbit. Sometimes, primitive was perfect.